So yeah, just going for a wander around this neighbourhood while we're visiting a friend and checking it out. We're in West Denpasar, just a regular Bali neighbourhood, maybe part of the sort of side of Bali that people don't usually see. I'm literally just wandering and looking around. I love doing this. I love just looking around normal life, so to speak. Like other Indonesia, like in Banyuwangi, other Indonesian neighborhoods I walk through, people love plants, they love nature, they love greenery, and it helps make it less, concrete jungle-ish. Because Bali is such a tourist hotspot, millions of people per year coming in and out of here and holidaying and partying and resorts and stuff, it's easy to forget, I reckon, that every place has regular people, like working class people, locals, who all have to live somewhere and have a normal life as well. They don't just work in hotels and restaurants and cafes and that. They have families, they have kids, they got to go to school, they got to do the washing. It's just normal life. Selamat pagi. Kemana? I'll tell you what, something about Bali was really, really apparent as soon as you get here from at least from Java. It's hotter here, it's hotter for sure. As soon as you come over, for some reason it's weird because Banyuwangi is so close. You would think that the weather and climate's just exactly the same. But as soon as you get over here, it's just hotter. It's sticky and muggy. You get that in Java too, but just here it's just more obvious. I'll go this way. That's one thing most Westerners, middle class Westerners, I guess, working class, middle class people aren't used to living in such close proximity. Especially not Kiwis, New Zealanders, like we're pretty spoilt for space. We're spoilt for, even, poorer or working class people. We're used to having space. Yeah, there's apartments and flats and that, but most people have way more space. But here people are used to living in close proximity. Big thing about Bali too is that it's predominantly Hindu. Like Balinese people are, Hindu people generally. So it's just got different traditions and everything. Permisi. It's pretty nice around here, especially like Denpasar. I don't know, I've got a very mixed feeling about Bali. My experiences here, I mean, as the years have turned into, have got more and more. Every time I come to or through Bali, I have mixed feelings about it because it's just it's almost so at odds with the rest of Indonesia. Well, not all of Indonesia, but you know, it's at odds because of the tourism, the busyness, the tolerance to some of the Western behaviors here just make me cringe, to be completely honest with you. I was saying yesterday how, like right here in this neighborhood, you won't really see foreigners because it's just locals, but when you're in the tourism hotspots, it's cringy to see foreigners, you know, drinking on the street, walking down the street with no shirt on, drinking a beer, or on the back of a motorbike with no helmet with a beer in their hand. And you just think, what are you doing, man? Like, you wouldn't even do that at home. Wherever your home is, I don't care where it is, in Europe or Australia or America or whatever, and they just come here and do whatever they want, because they can get away with it, you know. And it just proves that people do what they can get away with, you know. But I still shake my head when I think, God, have you got no form? Have you got no respect for the culture or the people? And yeah, well, the short answer is they don't really give a shit, you know. They do whatever they want. Bali, in the minds of many, you know, party hard tourists here, Bali just represents fun, I guess. Fun, no rules, cheap booze, cheap accommodation, cheap food, good weather, and it's sort of like just like a fantasy place, you know. So they throw out, a bit noisy here, they throw out all of their social norms, I guess, and just, yeah, I don't know. So I have mixed feelings about the place, but when it comes to Balinese people and Bali culture, it is a beautiful place. It's just the intense tourism that can affect my view of it, I guess. Yeah. Let me see. Down there, I won't go too far. Just wandering as I do. True. Gone back around in a circle in a loop, but I love this. I love just cruising around a neighborhood. That's a bit surprising, actually. The kids, there was a little girl there. She wasn't that little, maybe 8 or 9. And I wouldn't expect the kid here in Bali to like stare at a foreigner, and she like stared at me for ages and said "Bule," like foreigner. Like, I wouldn't expect that in Bali. They're so used to foreigners, but maybe not coming into the neighborhood, you know. I don't even know if I've been down here already. Sort of just weaving in and out. Unless I see something I clearly recognize. There's just all sort of blurs, one street blurs into another, to be honest. It's nice, yeah, just everyone going about their daily business. Yeah. I sort of play a bit of a balancing act here. I've said it before in another vlog. Going around neighborhoods, it's you don't want to be invasive of people's privacy, so while you are filming, I don't sort of go in full vlogging mode of, you know, like just waving my camera at everybody. I Try to be discreet, but at the same time, don't hide it and be sneaky. Kind of find the middle ground. Can't get enough of these plants and flowers that they love to have around. Any little bit of space that can provide space for a tree or a bush. Messy. It's nice. Actually, no sooner had I said what I just said, and I passed the guy sitting there in his yard. I said, "Permisi," it's like saying, "Excuse me," and his face looked pretty sour, to be honest. I don't know if he was, sour at me. You just never know, because he could have just been in a bad mood, but he didn't look too happy. He didn't say anything. He didn't scowl. I wouldn't go that far. But at the same time, yeah, and that just proved my point, maybe in a weird way, that no sooner had I said, "Oh, you gotta, it's good to be discreet and not invasive of people's space," and then literally 5 seconds after I said that, I passed the guy that looked like, that's exactly what I'd done. Yeah, you can only be apologetic about it and just more conscious of it, because you are filming people's family space, personal life and family space. It is a public place. I mean, you're not breaking rules to walk down a street, but yeah, because people live in close proximity, it's a bit different, I guess. At home, or in most Western countries where people have lots of space, you could walk down a street and be pretty far from anybody's front door. People, especially in New Zealand, people have a front yard. The actual house will be 10, 20, 30, whatever meters back off the road, so you'd be completely not noticed, maybe. Whereas here in Asia, people all live in condensed spaces, and you're walking literally within a meter or whatever, 2 meters from people's front doors, and they're right there doing their washing or something quite mundane, but at the same time personal and family daily life stuff. So yeah, anyway, it's still a fun thing to do. It's interesting. Boy, there's giving an offering. It's a Hindu. Balinese people are very big on giving their offerings to their spirits and ancestors and that every day. But I love these traditional style houses there. Saw an interesting little motivational quote up there on the wall. In English it said, "Don't stop until you're proud." That's an interesting one. Don't stop until you're proud. I think I've got myself well and truly lost now. I'll work it out. Trying to find a barbershop, a local one. Tell you what, in Legian, Kuta, where all the tourists are. Okay, bit of context. So, get a normal price to get a haircut here in Indonesia at a barbershop, 20,000, 30,000 rupiah. It's about $2 to $3. That's pretty regular. You might get a cheaper, you might get a bit dearer, but 20 to 30, right? That's normal. Go to Legian, Kuta, in the fancy barbershops where there's heaps of tourists, 180,000. Like, I don't mind paying a bit more, like when you're a foreigner, and $2 to $3 is very cheap anyway, of course, compared to back home. You don't mind paying a bit more. So if the locals, let's say a local pays 20,000, heck, I don't even mind paying 40, double. Don't mind, if I don't have to, I probably won't, but if I have to, that's fine. I'm fine with that. Or they might even say it's 30 and then I give them 40. It's not unreasonable. But when it goes to 180, just because that's about 18 to, 200,000 is about 20 New Zealand dollars, 16, 17 Australian dollars, something like that. Now that to us, of course, if you think in dollars, you'll think that that's a pretty good deal, because back home it's $30, $40, $50 to go to a barbershop, right? But here, to get for them to ask 180 is like 7 times, what is it? Hang on, let me do the maths. If it's normally 20, 5 times more, it's nearly 10 times the normal price, 10 times, right? And that to me is just like taking the piss, you know, like that's when it's, I just won't do it on principle. I won't spend that sort of money on principle. So I'm trying to find a local, well, not trying really properly, but I'm wandering around and looking out for a barbershop to get a haircut. A local one where locals would go. That's where, you know, even if in Bali, things are more expensive. So if I have to pay 40 or 50, that's not unreasonable. But yeah, anything over 50, I just won't bother. I kind of just wing my sense of direction, because I don't look out for street eyes. Not even often you'll see street names in that clearly anyway, but I just follow my nose with a basic sense of direction and try to avoid using Google Maps and that if I can. Spotted the famous barber stripes. Let's see if I can go. Oh, there's a few people here. Let's see what happens. And there you have it. Fresh haircut, 20,000. $2. Yeah, sweet young guy, shy, didn't say anything, but I gave him, you know, I spoke Indonesian and he understood me, and yeah, it was all good. 20,000. Actually, funny, I went to another one just 50 meters up the street, and it was only 10,000. They had a sign out the front saying 10,000, and I was like, man, that's so cheap. That's only $1. But of course, maybe it was a special, like a what do you call it? A pop-up special, because there was about 5 dudes waiting. Only one barber and there was one getting his haircut and at least 5 others waiting. And I contemplated waiting with them, and I was like, oh no, this is gonna take ages just to save a bloody $1 or whatever. So it happened that just 20 meters down the street, there was another one, which I just went to. And yeah, but that's what happens when you get off the tourist beaten track. You get off the beaten track, and everything changes. You know, like it even changes to look at, to be honest, because you're just in a normal Indonesian neighborhood. But the shops, the services, the prices, the people, yeah, everything changes. So it's maybe changing my perspective on Bali a little bit. I've got a negative connotation because of the tourist traps, and mostly the foreigners, to be honest. The foreigners just turn me off. They're shopping, they're partying, they're loud and obnoxious, and yeah, breaking all the cultural rules. They're not always breaking laws, but anyway, I get a negative connotation from it, and I sort of dread Bali as a result. But to be honest, just walking around this neighborhood, Banjar, it's called Banjar. I think the whole area is Banjar. It reminds me that I'm in Indonesia. Bali is not actually so different than most other places when it comes to real life, real people, real neighborhoods. You know, that's Bali is Indonesia at the end of the day. So I eat my words a little bit, because I'm a little bit quick to shoot Bali down, to be honest. But of course, that's just my impression from all the tourist traps and behaviors and prices and everyone. Basically, life in the tourist traps is extremely transactional. Everyone's there to either buy a product or service, like the tourists, or to sell it to them. And that just permeates everything. That gets you down a bit when you know, I live in Indonesia part-time at least, and I'm just not part of that tourist vibe, and it's off-putting to me. But anyway, it's not all about that. Here I am in good old Banjar. So I'm heading back to our friend Ranti and Simon's place now, where Ajeng is. And I just wanted to say something else about the barbershop that I just went to. It was really sweet too, how honest he was. I asked him berapa, I said how much, and he mumbled. He was a bit shy, so he was sort of quiet and mumbled. And misheard him, and I thought he said tiga, which is 3, and that would have implied 30,000. And I said tiga, and he goes dua, and he just put up two fingers. Oops, dua. So he was honest, you know. And he didn't, like, if I was in, I guess, pretty with some confidence, that if I was in Legian or Kuta, where everyone's a lot more street smart and sort of hustle culture there, well, first the price would have been a bloody 100 or 150 or something ridiculous anyway. But they're also very cunning, so like he would have, if I misheard it as 3, but actually it was 2 or 30 or 20, and I said, oh, 30, he would have just said yes straight away. If it was somewhere else, if he was a bit more bloody cunning hustler style. But he wasn't, this guy. He's honest. He's awesome. Hello. So yeah, I'm heading back home, heading back to where we're visiting today, and I've really enjoyed my little wander around Banjar. I think it's called Banjar. It's yeah, it's been a neat little positive local Bali experience. It's away from, you can't lean, in this sort of experience, you can't lean on the nature, the beach, the beautiful mountains. You can't lean on the tourist shopping and restaurants. It's just normal life for normal people here in the most famous part of Indonesia, ironically, but it reminds you that it's a normal place as well. Awesome. Signing out. Cheers.